And today we are going live with our amazing counterpart out in Illinois. We've got Dylan Blaha, who is from Let's Address Illinois. It is so nice to have you here. Thank you for making time today, Dylan.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I know, I've been writing for almost 2 months now, and I know our newsletters are kinda heading in different directions, so, no, but I'm grateful to be here today. I ran for Congress in Illinois, and so it's definitely a different perspective now looking at state politics and Chicago politics and stuff like that.
And how do you think that transition has felt like? I mean, not how do you think, but how has that transition been from running to writing and pushing other candidates?
It it's definitely been interesting because I primaried a Democrat. As a more progressive option in a district down south, and so I think, it was kinda toxic for people to talk to me in their ways that I had people whisper to me at events, "Hey, Dylan, I support you." And I'm like, "I don't know if this is normal," but, I mean, that's just kinda how it was, and so, it's very interesting to now talk to those same people, and get their perspective, but I told you this before, but I say, "Oh, I'm writing a progressive, newsletter in Illinois," and that starts to get people talking. We have this thing called Capital Facts, and it has so much power where it's like a corporate Democrat publication, and they just talk smack about women, progressives, you they never talk about the men that are sexually harassing women there, but they sure will talk about, the women that get DUIs and stuff, but there was one time somebody told me, the main guy's name is Rich Miller. A night before this progressive bill was supposed to go before the floor, he tore it apart on his publication, and it killed the bill. Like, just crazy stuff, yeah.
Oh my
But so
god.
we gotta rival that.
That's insane. I'm listening to this and I'm like, I can't even say if I say the word progressive, right? Because obviously my politics are
Yeah,
progressive. But when I say progressive here in Texas, people look at me like I just told them that I had an STD. So I
yeah,
have to I have to tell them, they're like, is it Democrat or Republican? And so I just say it's not Republican, right? Like I have
yeah,
to kind of like usher people into the door, let alone talk about progressive legislation, right? Like we talked a little bit before
yeah,
about Greg Casar, who's a true progressive. You look at what do you call it? Julian
mhm.
Castro. He's a true progressive. We have these progressive gems down here, and I'll even put Talarico in there, even though he's not as progressive as I would like him to be. But we have these gems down here, and we just have to just blanket it. Like we have to cover it and just say it's a Democrat, just so people understand.
Yeah,
So the civics, civics comprehension of where Texas is at, and that's by design, by the way, and where
mhm.
Illinois is at is just is so vast.
Yep, thanks, Reagan. I will say though that if you talk in terms of economic populism, those parts of the progressive message, they people think that means moderate. If you look at, that
Mm,
horrible DNC report that came out the other day that didn't mention Gaza or Israel or Palestine in it at all, because apparently it wasn't important, like, they even said in there that people think that Bernie is a moderate because he does economic populism first.
sure.
And it's one of those where I said the same thing of, "Hey, I will defend trans people every day. I will not back down on my
Mm,
positions on immigrants, trans people, women's rights, etc." But people think that the far left means that you walk into the room talking about trans people when we're actually talking about universal health care
right.
and universal education, childcare. And so I mean, I do think it can work down there. Because at the end of the day, it all comes back down to money.
Yeah, and it's being siphoned out of their pockets, and I'll touch real quick. I refuse to even talk about that report pissed me off so much. Side
Yeah.
note, because 1, that means it wasn't a big deal, and y'all need to get off of people's asses and blaming them, like, I have a big problem with that. They have a bigger blame for the left than they actually do
Mhm.
for the right
Yeah.
that majority voted together for Trump. Or you have to admit that that was a flawed document. Like I looked at that and I'm like, there's two options here, and I'm just
Yeah.
gonna leave it alone. This is not worth my 20 minutes to even read through it. So that's one. Then you talked about money, right? And it's funny because down here, people are like, it's okay, I'm willing to pay more if it means our security. Now suddenly,
Yeah.
in my area, it's a pretty affluent area of Houston, right? Like I would say it's
Mhm.
a decently affluent area. There are 7 school closures here, and people are freaking out. I've had people who are like, "Saadia, I love you." These are people I know. I just don't do politics. I can't follow your Instagram. I've never asked anybody. And now all of a sudden they're like, "Saadia, this is the 2nd school that my kid's been to, public school, and it's getting closed."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "We tried to warn you about the school vouchers. We tried to warn you that this is what Abbott's going to do." And so, like, that's how low we are. We're still digging the
Mhm.
grave. We're not even done. We're past 12 feet, like, under. We
Yeah.
are still digging, and I think that's my frustration is that I don't even have a baseline to work from. So when I write a newsletter like this, I don't assume everybody is as progressive or
Yeah.
maybe knowledgeable because also it's again by design. They keep this information away from Texans who need to hear it. They keep us living at poverty level or a little bit below it on purpose so that you're so busy making sure there's food on your table
Yeah.
that you don't realize what's going on, and they're just siphoning money out of your life.
When I think, corporate media is just there's so many things they don't say, and that's where I think it gives our newsletters a lot of room to really examine things that they won't. Whether it's ICE. When I made a couple viral videos last fall reminding service members to disobey unlawful orders, and the military is actually still coming at me for that. Like they haven't closed the investigation or
Right?
anything. And I was on MSNBC, national CBS before they became the Nazi news network, and but never once did local media cover that at all or ask me about it. And it's crazy. But, a month before the election, a bunch of them sent me a questionnaire. And and that's just crazy. But that's where we're able to do so much. And I think in our state, a lot of there's like politicos that are more tied in to what's going on. And we have a chance to bring all these progressive activists into that fold so we can tell them what goes on at the state house, what's going on with because there's a lot of Democrats that don't fight ICE either.
Correct, and they're about reforming ICE, and that's even a
Mhm.
talking point here. They won't say abolish ICE here. That is the
Mhm.
end of your campaign. Like, I know people are like, "I can't touch that," right?
Yeah.
We have to say reform ICE, and that's my problem is that we have to still comply here. You have to word the message in a way that you're still complying, and
Mhm.
that's why when I look at, like, let's address Illinois, and I see how much further you guys have moved that needle, it's very impressive. So I would ask you, like, when you are, communicating with the people that subscribe to a newsletter,
Mhm.
I get a lot of feedback. What's, like, the most important feedback or recurring feedback that you usually get?
I will say that in general, and this goes with my congressional campaign too, I've always said we need to be unapologetic and we need to be firm. Because you look at even Republicans like Donald Trump, and he respects somebody like AOC for being, more firm in her positions and things like that. And uh but I know that sometimes I can be very firm in my positions on Israel, and not everyone is at the same level. So I think it's more so like um it could be about ICE or something like that, where then you do have to have that clarifying conversation. I got some pushback once about a piece of gun legislation, the Rifle Act, and a lot of times it's just we're at different levels of how propagandized we are, how misinformed we are, and I don't know. I mean, we're so much closer to each other than we know, but I don't know. What about you? What's been the feedback so far? I mean, you said you got a lot of unsubscribes on that one article.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like the one that I got the most unsubscribes for or the most pushback for was actually the piece that I wrote about Abbott canceling
Yeah.
a pool party that was by American Muslims that they've had a couple of times before. They
Mhm.
canceled this pool party and he bribed the city. He's like, I'm going to hold back $530,000 of grants from you guys unless you do this. He's done this with Houston. He's like, wipe those rainbow sidewalks. Or I'm holding this back. We're
Yeah.
because the governor here only has so much power. But this guy has figured out every loophole, every which way that he can get these cities to bend to his whim. And so I get a lot of feedback about like that was negative feedback. I got direct I think I
Yeah.
got direct DMs on that. They're like, I thought you were agnostic. Da, da, da. I am agnostic. I do not
Mhm.
practice any religion. I don't know what is out there. But just because of that does not mean that I'm gonna be anti, Christian or anti-Muslim. I'm
Yep.
for the right for anybody who wants to practice their religion to practice it the way they want, as long as it's not imposed on others.
First
Uh,
Amendment. Yeah.
yeah, it's kinda it's the First Amendment, but, I got a lot of unsubscribes from there, so for me, I feel like sometimes unless I'm writing a very vanilla piece, that I don't have the base yet to move people left, right? Like, it's a we are an off-ramp for people that are
Yeah.
trying to figure out where they are on the political spectrum, and we are also a place where people are like, I got a bunch of messages about early voting this week, which I've never received in my life, and they're like, "Oh, do you have a recommendation? I'm going tomorrow because I saw
Mhm.
in your newsletter this is early voting," and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's a start."
Yeah. I
So
I mean, I think, going back to Ken Martin and the DNC, maybe not that report because, screw that report, but this is our chance to rebuild the Democratic Party
correct,
across the country, and so I think one problem we have here is that I look at a lot of we have these county Democratic parties usually, and they all report to the Illinois Democratic Party, which honestly doesn't even help candidates that are in open races or doesn't really help them that much against, unless you've earned your time. And so I say here we need to build progressive organizations, and I think it's different depending on the area. Some counties have a pretty active DSA, other areas, maybe Working Families Party or somewhere else. I don't. For you, I'm just wondering what's the state of the state Democratic Party now? Do you have to build your own?
yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like we have a lot of, like, dinos,
Mhm.
that have run as Democrats, but they vote along with the Republicans. But we have, like I said, such amazing progressives here, and there are
Mhm.
I feel like those of us that are truly trying to move this state in a different direction, there's a handful of us, and including representatives, and we're like this. Like, we all stay in touch all the time. We're all trying to brainstorm ideas. Do we have the funding? No. I actually interviewed Ken Martin at a event I went to. He did not like my questions. I watched that video back and I was like, "Oh, he's making faces." So
Yeah.
I didn't post that video anywhere. I told him, "We need the DNC to start valuing Texas. We need you to start
Yeah.
putting money into our races. Unless you like to just use us as talking points." Like, I
Mhm.
feel like they just use us for rage bait. But there's those of us that live down here. We're a majority minority state. We are
Yeah.
begging you for I mean, Abbott's sitting on $200 million that he's just ready to throw into ads.
Mhm.
That's insane. I think it's like 100 million or 200 million. Please, I just forgot the number, but
Oh my gosh.
and then we've got these grassroots or like grassroots Democrats here that are just scraping together, and I'm trying to give them
Yeah.
as much. And so it's the it's like what's that story? I think it's a David and Goliath, right? Like I feel like it's that story. And so I feel like that's what I'm trying to do with this platform that Gossen gave us, right? Like to talk to people that may not have felt like they're part of anything, give them a sense of community and show them like, okay, if the DNC is not going to do this, let's do this together. These are the action items because like I said, we're talking points all day, but here are the actual action items. They don't expect you to show up at town halls. Two people show up at town halls because I've
Yeah.
gone. Right? Like, they don't expect you to show up at the hearings. They don't expect you to ask questions. They don't expect you to blow up their emails and their inboxes and their voicemails. This is how you do it.
Yep, and I think for the people that say, "I don't do politics," I mean, everything is politics, right? And so it's affecting them whether they know it or not. And, I had National Guard training over the weekend, and it was
Yeah.
crazy to hear, some of the soldiers that I know were Republicans talk to each other about the gas prices, and I'd kinda poke my ear on it, be like, "Are they gonna come to a realization as to why those gas prices are so high?" And like, "No, no." They go, "Oh, well, anyway."
So
But
there they're actively ignoring it.
Yeah. I mean, we do have a decent amount of, leftists in the military. So, I mean, it's still like 60-40 Republican to Democrat traditionally, but yeah,
That's
so that's
ironic.
always interesting. But I'm a medical officer, so it's
I know,
usually a little
yeah.
bit higher. Yeah.
How do the people who are how do they reconcile this? Like, when you're a leftist and you're in the military, I've always because I have friends that are
Yeah.
leftists in the military, and, out of respect for probably the
Yeah.
inner conflict they're facing, I don't
Yeah.
ask. How does that feel for them?
Um, well, you're lucky because I've been in for almost 14 years, and I've always considered myself, more liberal. I tried to just not look into politics much for a while because I didn't know if we were allowed to speak out, and it wasn't probably until I was in Europe and I spent 3 years there, and I had deployed to Afghanistan before and had the "Why the hell are we here?" moment. But even being in Europe and kind of understanding more of how the military works and our imperialist nature. I was actually in Germany when Israel started their genocide in Gaza. So I saw a lot of those numbers firsthand. And every single person there was like, oh my gosh, when are we going to stop? Like, why is this happening? Um, it's just like the benefits, the pay, the worry that if you speak out and you get a dishonorable discharge, that's as bad in America as getting out of prison and makes it so hard to get a job. So, I mean, even now, I'm like, well, there's healthcare, there's other stuff. I did just get 100% disability, so we'll see.
Oh,
But
congratulations.
I
Thank you.
know, I know, and yeah, I mean, I got arrested at the Capitol last month for protesting the war, so I'm trying to do my part, you know.
No, and y'all so much. Like, I put the video up. I recognize a couple of y'all. I think was Matt with y'all? USMC veteran. I think was he with y'all that time?
Matt didn't go with us that time. I know
Okay.
he's been going through a lot lately, but we did have Greg
Yeah,
Soper was
yeah.
there,
That's right,
so
Greg. Yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
love
Greg was there.
he's
Yeah.
running here in Texas too, so he's trying to get rid of
Mhm.
I mean, she's gone now,
Yeah.
but it's like that's what I'm saying. We're working with bare bones here.
Yeah. Oh, so one thing I was gonna say before when you were talking about money, and,
Yeah.
that's one thing that it just grassroots candidates get crippled because, I'll raise my hand and say, "I'm not gonna take APAC money, I'm not gonna take corporate money," all these things, but it cripples you, and then to the point where Uh, I've I was told, "Hey, go out and plan on raising $100,000 in your first couple days from friends and family." Like, what do you mean? I don't come from a rich family. Like, but that's the consultant advice.
That's insane, and that's not how it was meant to be. It wasn't
Mhm.
supposed to be, this is the barrier for entry. It used to be
Yeah.
that you were just who was it? Carter was a peanut farmer,
Mhm.
right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you think he raised 100K so that that's insane, and I look at this and I feel like, you know, I hope people are learning that this is
Yeah.
not the way to do it, and that's why I'm so passionate about this newsletter and making sure that people
Yeah.
are getting out, school boards, right? Like, that's another thing, like, people don't realize that these lower races, like, my my sheriff, my constable here, the police guy that comes around,
Mhm.
that's Troy Nels. He is now a national headache. He started as
Oh,
a
wow.
sheriff, constable, used to come to my parents' house. I was raised Republican, by the way.
Yeah. I
Now
remember you saying
he's
that.
left, yeah, left or super far left. And he used to come over to our house, and I used to be like, "Why is this creep here?" I just always
Oh,
got creep vibes from him, and now
uh,
he's gone from constable to where he's at, and now he's trying to get Trevor, his brother,
mhm.
in as well, and I'm like, "These local races, they very much matter. Your dog catcher
Yeah.
matters. All of this. Your commissioner matters because they
Yeah.
will run for the next state senate. They will run for governor. So I tell people
Mm.
there was always money barrier to entering politics. I mean, there was some, but it wasn't like you were just saying. It was 100K is unfathomable to me.
Yeah. No, I know, and I mean, I was able to raise about 100K in my campaign, especially with social media and all that, but I mean, like, it was hard, we're not all cat of Exale, but, and, shout out to Kat, she's raised an incredible amount of money.
I love.
Um,
I'm so devastated by both y'all's the way it turned out. So I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's a learning experience. I mean, I think, Kasem, experienced the buzzsaw that is Illinois politics as well with the racist Bill Foster. So, I think it's one of those things that it takes time, but it shows us just how important we are. But then, we saw Graham Plattner a couple weeks ago too, and it was actually on my birthday, but I
Yeah, yeah.
went anyway. Yeah.
Happy birthday.
And Graham said, "We're building an organizing apparatus, not just for now, but to sustain us in the future." And that's kind of how it's got to be everywhere. We have to get better at knocking doors. And because organized people do beat organized money, but we also see that some people, they still just figure out who they're going to vote for based on TV ads. So we need enough money to run digital ads against them. And uh yeah.
And I think that's where social media comes in, right? Because I
Mm,
mean, you can get viral videos, like you said, you got a viral video. But if I'm really big about community on my Instagram, right? Like I've always,
mhm,
up until recently, because now there's so many rules. I used to
mm,
like
mm,
informing other people, right? Like it
mhm,
was that I could share people's information, their statements, whatever they were doing, and people could go follow them or go be a part of their campaign and things.
yeah.
I feel like them clamping down is preventing that, but I'm not gonna stop because that's if we don't have money,
Mhm,
that's what digital currency is, right? Like our communities that we're building on these different platforms. So,
yeah.
that's a big priority for me, and, like, we've got a big governor's race here.
Mm,
Gina is doing what she can. She's our Democratic, candidate. She's
mhm,
doing what she can, going door to door. She's at these little taco places all the time, like, that I know because I've been to
yeah.
Austin stuff, right? But they're not places where you're having these 500, 600 people show up. I had her show up at, a creative convention in San
Mhm,
Antonio so that people could get introduced to her, and she would be live broadcasted, right? And I had
mhm.
people for the first time, they're like, "That's Gina. That's who's running against Abbott." I'm like, "Yes. Yes." So, like, I feel like we gotta hit him not just with
Yeah.
door knock. It's a little risky here to door knock because everybody has a gun. And they will shoot you if they feel like it. So, like, if we're not able to get people out at the doors, we need to have everybody sharing. And
Yeah.
I only have 10 followers. Those 10 followers trust you more than somebody on my platform trusts me because those are people that directly communicate with you. And if that's truly how you feel, you're gonna open that door faster than either of us.
Yeah. I mean, Central Illinois really worked off of Facebook. And so that's why I'll even say, a lot of the followers that I got on there during the campaign were in the district or at least in Illinois. And so their words, their sharing, their endorsement meant a lot, like you said. And um, yeah, I think you just gotta keep pushing as much as possible. And I think I I mean, like you said, you can't explicitly say abolish ICE there without all of a sudden jumping on a narrative. There's just been so much misinformation around immigration and around LGBTQ plus people that I think those are things that in Texas you don't walk in the room, saying those things. I think right now you start with kitchen table issues and a lot of it is things like corruption, the fact that we have an Epstein class that is deciding how people live, that, we're in this war in Iran for Israel, and because of that, now everyone's gas is so high. Like, I do think there's this one guy who posted, I don't know if you saw the video. It was called like the 80% bill, and it's 20 issues that over 80% of Americans believe in. And
Hmm.
most of them are anti-corruption, things like banning congressional stock trading because they shouldn't be allowed to trade
Right.
stocks. I saw the other day that Donald Trump has traded an enormous amount of stocks this year.
Yes, and
Um,
one of them was
yeah,
a sushi company in Japan.
yeah.
Weird. Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Yes. And then, Mark Cuban offloaded his Bitcoin, like, it's insane. Yeah. Yeah, I'm about to
yeah,
offload every little bit of Bitcoin that we've had, so I'm just like, "Just give
yeah.
trash."
Well, I mean, I know you're Mark Cuban's biggest fan,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, yeah. Just got my video taken down on TikTok, so
Did you really?
yeah, he's such a little pissant. I know you guys are listening to this. I just want you to know if any of you are Mark Cuban, you're a little shit. Because I invited different times to talk about this on a platform where you could
Wow.
literally defend yourself, and now it's just a one-way conversation. So that original video that I put up, it had already been appealed. They took it down, I appealed it, they put it back up, and now it's taken down with no chance for appeal. So I'm like,
Wow.
"You're so butthurt."
No one earns $1 billion. Let's just say that, you know?
Never trust. I tell people they used to always argue with me because he's a Texan and, "Oh, he's done so much and this and that." I tell people, "Do not ever trust a billionaire. A
Yeah.
billionaire did not get there ethically. They got there on the backs of other people that they stepped on." So,
No, exactly. Ugh. Um, so moving forward, let's address Texas. How do you see it playing out for the rest of the year?
we've got our big governor's election, and we are up against Abbott, who's got, like I said, upwards of $100 million ready to just drop on social media ads, and a lot of that's going straight here to Houston, right?
Mhm.
We are a
Yeah.
pain in his ass, and he hates us. Anything he can do, our representative passes away, and he doesn't hold a special election for months, even when it's during hurricane season. So if
Wow.
God forbid something had happened, we would have no representation here, right?
Mm.
So he is the biggest thorn in our side, along with the Senate race, right? And those are such I feel like the Senate race is very flippable, and I know people will argue with me on this, but I feel like Tallarico took that
Yeah.
vote because the Bible. He can recite that Bible back, forward, through and through, and that's what people care about here. Oh,
Mm.
he's smart because he knows the Bible. That's a lot of the rural areas will off ramp to him because of that. I feel like, our 2 choices, Paxton, who will probably win, would be devastating for Texas if he did actually become the
Yeah.
senator here. And Cornyn, I feel like whoever limps out of that race, we have a chance to flip this state. Abbott is going to be an uphill battle. That is let's address Texas's goal, and to make sure these
Yeah.
schools. We've kicked out a lot of conservatives. We've had a very conservative area here that has gone from red to blue. School board that was
Oh,
banning
yeah.
vote and this and that. Those are the kinds of things that we'll be focusing on. So, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I do think, the Republican Party is now, and I'm very concerned with the state of where they are. I mean, they have really transitioned to a fully fascist party that will do whatever Donald Trump wants. And the fact that, um, the representative from Kentucky, that I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, who
Oh,
lost?
Massey?
Yeah, that Thomas Massie voted with Republicans 91% of the time, and he got kicked out. I mean, it does make me nervous for any Republican standing up to him in the future. But I do think at the same time, I don't know. Hopefully, there's some Republicans that move back. I don't know. I think for me, the thing that I do think about though is the furthest right progressive. Let's say there is still just such a stark divide between that person and a corporate establishment Democrat. And so we have a Democratic supermajority in Illinois. And our session ends next week for the bulk of the year. There's a veto session in the fall, but that's about it. And I think my concern is just like, are they doing enough? I
Sure.
personally don't think that they are. But I am feeling better that we have enough votes to repeal our anti-BDS law.
That's
Um,
incredible. I'm
yeah.
shocked. You'd be one of the first states in the nation to do that, correct?
We would be the first,
Yeah.
and so it's literally being held up by a couple representatives, especially, shout out to Representative Bob Morgan for holding up multiple progressive, pieces of legislation. We are hoping to primary you in the future, Bob Morgan, so, don't get comfortable in that seat, but, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Illinois has drawn the ire of Donald Trump because of Chicago, because of Governor Pritzker, and so I do anticipate that ICE will continue to get worse again, but they've really changed their tactics and they're not being explicit. So I don't know. As far as election goes, we're so gerrymandered that the red seats are going to stay red and the blue seats are mostly going to stay blue. So There's 3 Democrats that are running against our 3 Republicans. Hopefully, they can, give them a good challenge and unseat somebody like Mary Miller, um, or Mike Bost. But I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how this evolves, right? I think it's been exhausting to live under the fascist regime of Donald Trump, but also we're building community in a way that we haven't done
Correct.
in a while, both online and in person.
Yep, and I think that's the silver lining. There are people I feel like I always tell people I feel like it's I don't know if it's dating me. It is dating me. Aladdin when Jafar has that staff and he's like controlling everybody, and you're like, do you not see that you are under this spell? And then when the staff shatters, and they're like, oh, wait a minute. Like I feel like that's the part where we're at, where a lot of people are seeing that staff shatter. And I'm
Yeah.
like trying to gather as me. I'm like, come here, come here. I know we're not. I know I'm a little too far left for you. Just it's rights for everybody and making sure that everybody's communities are safe and get healthcare, but that's fine,
Yep.
come here, like, I'm trying to gather as many of them as possible and showing them common sense. So, I'm glad that you guys are somewhat at the common sense level, at least in your, Illinois kind of bubble. I'm hoping that your red seats eventually start turning purple and blue, and I hope that you get some time to come back because it's been so refreshing to talk to someone
Yeah.
out of this mess. Even though I love all the representatives here, it's nice to see what our state could be like when we get there.
Yeah, let's talk again soon. No, I'm grateful that we did this today. I'm interested to see how the blue states go and how Texas used to be a purple state. What happened?
It's still purple.
Okay,
It's
all
still
right.
purple until
Yeah.
they gerrymandered it, and it's our time to
Yeah.
figure out how to get these people out and make sure that
Yes.
we show them no matter how much you cut our state up, we
Yep.
will we will stay purple and move it blue.
The power of the people is greater than the
Absolutely.
people in power.
Absolutely. Thank you again for being here today. And everybody, if you're watching this, please, please, please subscribe to Let's Address Illinois with Dylan because he's a phenomenal writer and just an amazing activist. So thank you again.
And subscribe to Let's Address Texas with Saadia Mirza. So, yeah.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.